A lot of the stuff we read in the Bible is historical fiction, and that's okay.
It's okay. You can still learn a lesson from it.
I think it's important to understand that there are a bunch of different writings about Jesus that we don't have. Just to be clear, I'm saying that these aren't considered historical writings because I don't want people who listen to this to get so caught up in, here's a term, the historicity of these stories.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you get into like this being a historical account, when somebody presents information to you that shows that it's probably not historical, that's going to lead you to cognitive dissonance, where it's like, wait a minute. Oh, shit. A lot of the stuff we read in the Bible is historical fiction.
Yes.
And that's okay.
It's okay. You can still learn a lesson from it. The first damn half of Genesis, it's made up, y'all.
Yeah.
That was there. It was written thousands of years after those events happened.
Mm-hmm.
Dealing with oral history. So people were framing stories to the best of their ability to communicate to people in that time what happened or how it may have happened and why we're now in this space and place that we're in.
Yeah.
Same thing here with this Infancy Gospel of Thomas, possibly.
Absolutely. And there's so much that's unknown. Another thing that we try to reinforce here is that a lot of the stuff we talk about is saturated in uncertainty.
Yes.
And you got to be okay with that too. Like, we're not coming here to tell you this is exactly how it happened. Like, there's a whole lot of uncertainty in this. The question that we have to ask ourselves is, what can we take away from this and apply it to our lives today?
Yep.
If anything, because sometimes you read something, it's like, ain't nothing in here I can apply to my life. But if there is something, what can we apply to our lives? What is important for me is to like reinforce why I am so big on emphasizing the greatest commandment. Because in a lot of progressive spaces, the rallying cry is Jesus, 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 Jesus. I know that's, the Bible, but is it Jesus? Jesus, 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 Jesus. And I love Jesus. I think Jesus is dope. My ministry is framed around the way of Jesus. At the same time, Jesus has flaws as far as I'm concerned. So when I'm out doing my advocacy work and I'm doing my public theologian work, there's always somebody that comes at me who wants to prove to me that Jesus is like a fictional character. None of that stuff ever happened. Because they feel like that is going to debunk everything that I teach. But my teaching is not based on the historicity of Jesus. I'm not saying Jesus didn't exist. I'm not saying that. But my teaching is not based on that. I teach based on the teaching of Jesus, the stories that were written about Jesus. And Jesus said the greatest commandment is that we love God, love our neighbor, and love ourselves. So anything that I read, whether it's the 66 books in the Bible, the Apocrypha, the lost Gospels, anything else we consider sacred text, like I consider Black Liturgies by Cole Arthur Riley sacred text. I'm coming at it to ask the question, how does the greatest commandment apply here? I know for a long time we asked, what would Jesus do? But, you got to ask, what Jesus are we talking about? Because Jesus might off a nigga in a situation. I instead asked the question, how does the greatest commandment apply here? So even if you're reading the Infancy Gospel of Thomas, I encourage you to ask yourself, how does the greatest commandment apply here? If you're reading any of the other apocryphal books, how does the greatest commandment apply here? If you're watching the news, how does the greatest commandment apply here? If you're reading a history book, how does the greatest commandment apply here? If you're voting in the election, how does the greatest commandment apply here? That's what I'm like constantly trying to reinforce. How am I loving God and how I love my neighbor and how I love myself? So when we go to these texts like the Infancy Gospel, I encourage everybody to ask that question. How does the greatest commandment apply here? And then I believe everything else will work itself out. Anything you want to leave with the people?
Yeah, encouraging people to stretch beyond the 66 books. I think you painted a perfect picture when you're talking about the Coptic faith tradition, Ethiopians, and how their canon is much larger than our canon. I think in the West, we have to stop thinking that white is right because
Yeah.
all of us are white theologically. It's just a matter of how white are you and how long do you want to stay white? At what point do you want to stretch beyond this framework? And that requires us to read something other than the Bible, especially when we consider the historical cultural context of the text, as none of that was created in a vacuum. Stuff was happening around that time. We have the story of a particular group of people. That's it. There were other people groups around that time. There's other stuff that was happening outside of what was written in the canon. And so it requires us taking all of that information to form a larger picture. And that's what I just challenge people to do. Expand their thoughts, expand their thinking, expand their reading so that they can have a more robust understanding of what was happening, why it was happening, why what was written. And then that'll help you to kind of like navigate a little bit better through some of the challenges and some of the wrestling that we do from a theological lens.
Hey, thank y'all for watching this segment all the way through. The entire recording of this episode is exclusively available in our digital community. You can subscribe by visiting holysmokesmovement.com and just click join our digital community. And if you enjoyed this segment, I'm sure you're going to enjoy the 2+ hour recording we did on this topic. But not only that, you'll have access to the TFC ecosystem where hundreds of us discuss these topics every day. And not only that, you can watch all of our full-length podcast recordings on demand in our digital community. And not only that, you can get the gratification of supporting a movement that's supporting you. And who doesn't want that? So again, holysmokesmovement.com, click join our digital community. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel if you want to get more free content from us just like this. And we'll see you right back here next time where we are deconstructing harmful theology and building beloved community one cigar at a time. But like you did know, you don't have to smoke cigars to be a part of this, right? Like only 15% of our community smokes cigars. I'm just saying.